welcome.
You don't have to turn that way, just turn it up. Straight up, down.
Like this.
Yeah.
It's not on.
It should be.
I don't know that we really need it. Okay, yeah, it is. Leanne Huffman and I would like to welcome you to this tribute. Hal. Sorry. We had a little program, it's a service, and after the service we're going to have food and a toast, an Irish whiskey. He wanted an Irish wake and he died too soon, but he died late enough that his friends can't stay up till 9 o'clock, so we're not going to do a wake. And Leanne, it was Hal's partner for the last, how many years, Leanne? 15. And he was very close to her family, and she helped take care of him in his final days. So, anything you want to say, or just welcome? And we're going to start with our program. Just 1 second, please. I don't guess you want to read it, do you? I'm going to start by reading the obituary. However, was born September the 6th, 1945. He died August the 15th, 2018, due to complications with Parkinson's disease. He didn't die of Parkinson's disease, but he fell because of Parkinson's disease, and it was a very, very bad fall, just flat, and he never recovered from it. Leanne spent 10 days in the hospital with him?
More like a month. He spent 18 days in ICU at WVU, but by the time they got him to WVU, he was septic, and Summersville didn't do what they should have done.
But anyway, we lost him. Hal is survived by his beloved daughter, Cheyenne. Mother, Martha, is one of the sweetest people in the world. His brother, Scott, and his wife, Scott's wife, Pam, his sister, Cinda, and companion, Leanne Hoffman, and her children, Dylan, Brittany, and Holly. Hal graduated from Huntington High School and WVU. He was an entrepreneur in many ways, but he was also one of the first owner of had the first invisible fence building business in Charleston. And years later, he was the Good News Garage car guy, which is the best. He was a long-serving member of the Citizen Action Group. He was an avid environmentalist, accomplished sailor, erstwhile pilot. Those who know Hal, it was very erstwhile. I think the only 2 people that ever flew with him ended up kissing the ground when they finally got off.
I know Scott did.
And I think Cherie did, and I think they went off the runway with Doug. But he was the out-of-the-box thinker, lover of old-time music. He was a goofy joke teller, and all-around good guy. I have a couple of things. Nobody in his family could be here today, but his sister Cinda has sent something as to his daughter Cheyenne. Cinda lives in Seattle, and she says, although I'm unable to be with you all to celebrate the life and love of my big brother Hal, due to geographic distance, I want to share in spirit. I wish that I could be with you today to hear your stories of Hal. My relationship with Hal began, as I am told, by his ordering from our mom a sister to be followed by a brother. And his believing he'd gotten his wishes when I was born and our brother Scott came a year and a half later. I wonder if this is a source or just evidence of Hal's self-confident approach to the world that I experienced in him often. Our mom, Martha, told this story, including his tenderness and affection with me as a newborn as he rocked me. This image may have been our mother's imagination or her attempt to engender sibling harmony, but there is photo evidence of him holding me in the family rocker. So there was some truth to the family story of tenderness, despite my memories of him as a busy older brother capable of much teasing. It wasn't until our college years, which seemed to overlap with his prolonged by the draft, was prolonged by the draft. I think he's got the record, if you want, and his approach to academics, that our relationship as adults developed. From our sharing of political ideas so central to his worldview, to his enthusiastic response to my sharing about homeopathic medicine when we were both new parents, Hal's way of seeing the world was similar to mine. That resonance gave me a feeling of family and belonging. When I would make trips east to see our mom and the rest of the family in Pennsylvania, he would often find a way to join us. He made himself available even when our visits to each other's homes were infrequent. I am grateful for his commitment to maintaining family connection that way. I do not know his West Virginia and its natural beauty that he loves so well. I was only 12 when we moved from Huntington to Pennsylvania. However, I do appreciate that it was a deep influence on him and his commitment to protect and serve it. I was awed by its beauty when I drove to Morgantown only a few weeks ago. The same distance between Seattle and Charleston that has influenced how often we were able to visit each other has limited my ability to have known you all and to join you today. Perhaps the distance is only spatial as we honor and celebrate his life today. I want to appreciate your presence in his life and heart as I offer this incomplete tribute to the complexity of Hal, the man and the brother, and to his loving presence in my life, in the heart forever. Hal's little sister, Cinda. Okay, thank you, Cinda. This is being taped and sent to the family. Cheyenne, his daughter, couldn't be here either, and she sent something for me to read. I edited it a little bit, Cheyenne, sorry. Carol Lane Weber Jr., you want to read this? Go ahead. Joined our ancestors just shy of marking 73 years, characterized by joy, rebellion, and generosity. He was born in 1945 in Louisville, Kentucky, to a Midwestern father in the Air Force, Harold Weber Sr., and a genteel Southern mother, Martha House. The eldest of three, as a boy, he drove cars, and this is true. His grandmother had him driving a car when he was about 8 in the desert at high speeds. It stuck with him forever. And he rode bikes, and his family moved to England, California, and eventually to West Virginia. In England, he was the first boy to attend an all-girls school, which probably helped his personality along the way. He was always very good friends with women. He was the first boy ever to attend there, and they let him learn arithmetic at his own place. His mother insists he was so handsome and charming that he was always a favorite in any neighborhood and very well behaved. I think Martha might have been meditating on that, don't you? As a teenager, he attended Huntington High School, and his parents moved when he was a senior, and his dad worked for IBM, and they moved around a lot. And I remember Hal telling me that he just decided he wasn't going to move anymore. So his family goes to Philly, and he gets an apartment in Huntington to finish his senior year. He spent hanging around pool halls, drinking beer, shooting pool, and he didn't graduate because of something, or nearly didn't, because of something he did at a party, which involves relieving himself. He landed at West Virginia University, where he received, and this is so funny, Martha sent him an envelope with snipped apron strings in it, nothing else, like, you're on your own now. He loved Morgantown, and actually his first year roommates here, so I am going to use the adjective Cheyenne had, now that you said it's okay. He lived on Campus Drive, and along with his other degenerate brothers, bankrupt their fraternity with too many parties. Deeply moved by the anti-war movement after Kent State shooting, he was part of the massive protests that swelled campuses and pulled down the monument to the U.S. West Virginia that had been destroyed by Pearl Harbor. He avoided the draft by stretching a 4-year degree into 10. thus the apron strings. Ultimately graduating with a history degree and more minors than are perhaps known. During the time he got married to Claudia Baker, went to football games, and then protested, took to the woods, and did his share of things that people were doing back then. Over time, he felt more the call to tune in, turn on, and drop out. Dropping out for Hal meant joining the Back to Land movement. After a foray into traveling extensively in the Caribbean on an entrepreneurial journey by sailboat, he returned to West Virginia and bought a farm, and she puts quotes around the farm. It was a junkyard with a house on it, but deep hillsides and a good water supply. And good apple trees. He used an outhouse and bathed in the creek, read Mother Earth news, and smoked or played volleyball with the hippies slowly filling in the hollow. Many of you are here today. Never wanting to be too grounded, he got his pilot's license and bought a 1949 Stinson Voyager plane, parked it at Slate Run Airport, and then took literally 5 flights of fancy for at least a decade. I don't think it ever moved once it got there, did it? Nobody was going to fence him in. He met Cherie Carroll. Cherie couldn't be here today, and their romantic partnership eventually produced me, Cheyenne, their only child together. He took me to the sea. He taught her that Earth was sacred and that we respect and honor indigenous people. I'm going to add a little anecdote in here. When I first met Hal, he had this beautiful sort of like vest, Native American vest. It was beautiful. It was really good, clear, bright glass, beaded on animal skin, and it was old, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? And the story was that someone, and I don't know if it's in y'all's fraternity or what, but someone took it out of the basement of a museum somewhere because it wasn't getting used. And they said they were going to get it back to the tribe it belonged to. And then they left. And so he had it, and he said, no, I'm going to take that. And he took that, I guess it was Crow maybe, and gave it back to them. That was Hal. He could have sold it, he could have kept it, but when he gave you his word or said he was going to do something like that, he was the most loyal person in the world. But anyway, back to Cheyenne Singh. He took care of a lot of people in a lot of ways, including a community of Vietnam vets suffering from PTSD who treated their illness with cannabis. He and Cherie went to the protests periodically, but life looked more weird, hippie suburban than anything, and mostly they ran small businesses. When he and my mom split, he returned to activism, joining the West Virginia Citizen Action Group and the West Virginia Environmental Council. For many years, he worked at the Good News Garage, tinkering with cars donated to help folks on public assistance without transportation. He loved cars. He loved the thrill of driving fast and scaring people. And then he loved it. He loved helping people, and he loved driving around talking to people. He only retired from the garage because of his illness. Since the late 2000s, Hal was partnered with Leanne Huffman, and he's been family to her 3 kids, Brittany, Dylan, and Holly, and to her grandkids, Alex and Colton. He took Leanne sailing, and she shared his love of the sea. They regularly went camping and enjoyed the wilds of the States, and he can tell she finally got him to move with her to Charleston, off that farm. They were hiking when he fell and landed in the hospital. Many would have put themselves in a glass cave to preserve life, but his rebellion to the very end focused on autonomy. We are all glad his wishes were honored. Hal did not put much stock in material things. He understood we are interdependent with each other and all living beings. He valued and embodied joy. This was a guy who refused to have clocks in his house because time was a construct of the man meant to keep us down. He did not belong to a faith tradition, and his wishes were to be cremated and released to the sea. He once told me that he would like Jimmy Buffett's A Pirate Looks at 40 played at his funeral. Everyone wishing to continue his legacy of loving and thoughtful action on behalf of people and planet, I know would be pleased to make donations to the West Virginia Citizen Action Group or the West Virginia Environmental Council instead of flowers or material monument. And Gary Zuckett's here, and you can find his website. He was a darling human. Let's celebrate we got to know him. And Clay and Ken are going to sing A Pirate Looks at 40.
Stand, but that's fine.
Well, you can stand.
I'll just stand.
This will pick up pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
I'll get off this.
Are you singing?
Clay?
You stand, Clay?
Yeah.
You don't need to be too close to this.
Mother, Mother Ocean, I have heard you call, wanting to sail upon your waters since I was 3 feet tall. You've seen it all. You've seen it all. Watched a man who rode you switch from sail to steam, and in your belly you hide the treasures few have ever seen. Most of them dream. Most of them dream. Yes, I am a pirate, 200 years too late. Nothing to plunder, I'm an over 40 victim of fate. Arriving too late. Arriving too late. But I've done my share of smuggling. I've run my share of grass. Made enough money to buy Miami, but I pissed it away so fast. Never meant to last. Never meant to last. I've been drunk now for over 2 weeks. Passed out and I rallied and I sprung a few leaks. Now I've stopped wishing, got to go fishing down the rock bottom again. just a few friends. Just a few friends. I go for younger women, live with several though I ran them away, they come back one day, still couldn't manage a smile, just takes a while, just takes a while. Mother, Mother Ocean, after all the years I've found, occupational hazard being, my occupation's just not around. Feel like I drowned, but I won't wear a frown. Feel like I drowned, gonna head uptown. Feel like I drowned, gonna head uptown. This is Pat Walker. Hal would come out to see us play every Tuesday. Yeah. He was our fan club.
Wasn't that nice? Anybody knew Hal? That just was right on. First of all, I'm Doug Stoniker, and I would just like to send out my heartfelt condolences to Hal's family and Barbara, who mentioned all their names. I don't seem to usually do that again. And to Leanne Huffman and all her family. Hal dearly loved those folks, and they watched out after him to his final days. And we appreciate that. First of all, I've known Hal for 44 years. 44 years. It's amazing. I first met Hal through Mel Curry, Speedy Curry, as a lot of people know him by. But they worked together they worked for the health department, state health department, and they trained EMTs at the time throughout the whole state. And I've known Speedy a lot longer than Hal, quite a bit longer than Hal. But at the time, I had a Volkswagen minibus that was for sale. Of course, Mel mentioned it to Hal, and he had to have it. A little hippie bus, right? So Mel had set up a appointment for us to meet, and we met in South Charleston, and Hal shows up. He's in a shirt and tie from his business, and I was selling ads for a publishing company at the time. So we're both in shirt and tie with businessmen. We're meeting for this amazing deal on this bus, right? And I'd never met him before, but we made the deal, and the next day I get a call from Hal. Hey man, the engine blew up on the bus. You ripped me off. I want my money back. Well, sorry, Hal, I'm going to spend my money. I needed it or I wouldn't have sold the bus. So I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Tell me where you live, and I will come out and see if I can help you with the bus. See what we can do with the bus. So he gave me directions to his house. And at that time, the interstate hadn't even been finished yet. So, and I lived in St. Albans, so it was a long trip to go up Elk River, out Frame Road, over toward Lincoln, over toward Roane County. And the road, found the road, got on the road, dirt road, went right up, and the road was 15 feet from Hal's house. Road, house. So I went there, and I said, well, I'm not a very good mechanic. I'm not a mechanic at all, but I'll do whatever it takes, to help fix this bus. And so we proceeded in taking the engine out of this bus. And so we got it into this wheelbarrowed across the road, up on some planks, across the porch, into the door, into the kitchen where we had all these papers laid out, put the engine on the kitchen floor, and he proceeded to rebuild this bus. And I spent a whole day with him, and that was really the first time I ever got to know him. And before that day was out, we were friends. It was amazing. He didn't hold any animosity toward me at all. And however, after learning his how he drives, you know, those mini buses only go about 55 miles an hour. So, you know, the engine, yeah. But after that, it was coincidentally, I was also in going back to the land movement and trying to find property, and found a piece of property in Roane County. And coincidentally, it was on the same road as Hal lived on. So I ended up purchasing it, and actually I became neighbors with John Longwell. My property bordered up to John. And I was a horrible backlander too. I did not know how to do it and didn't do it very well. But Hal was very, very supportive, and everyone had to go past Hal's house every day to go in and out of the properties. And he was the only one, I guess it was mentioned by Cheyenne that he took baths in the creeks. Well, we all took baths in the creeks. But he must have got indoor plumbing before the rest of us, because he had water and he had a shower. And so on our way in, most of us took showers at his house about every day. And he's very accommodating. You know, he said, come on in, take baths. So it was ironic that I ended up buying this piece of property, and that sort of filled our fate. I mean, we were going to be friends from there and for the next 44 years. And we were like brothers. And everyone that knows us knows that. It was really good. So, but anyway, Hal's house was the hub at that particular time, and everybody stopped there. And in our community, it was a community. It was a pretty tight-knit community. We did a lot of partying. We had so much fun. I mean, to even begin to tell you all the things that all of us got into with Hal, all those years it would be 10 books. It's just amazing. He eventually moved the road, which was 15 feet from his house, too, by the way. But he was a very generous man, and over the time, you know, he was my best man at our wedding, and Lonnie and I's wedding. And we all had our children all about the same time. And throughout the years, I worked on many projects with Hal. And one in particular, on one of his sailing adventures, he liked to work in Miami, outside Miami, to get more money to go on his trips. And he'd be gone, I think, about 3 months or something like that at a time. And he had contracted some works with this thoroughbred racing farm outside Miami in Dade County. And he wasn't going to make his deadline, so he wasn't going to be able to go sailing when he was supposed to. So he calls me up and said, why don't you come down and help me with this project? And I said, sure, I'd love to come down. So he and Cherie came up and picked me up. We go down, and where we were living, we had I think it was a Scotty trailer that was about 15 feet long, and all three of us slept in this thing in the middle of a pasture under a banyan tree at about 100 degrees. It was miserable. But that was one project. We finished up the project, and Hal went on his sailing trip in one direction with some of his friends, and I went on another with some other friends I knew down in Key Largo. But we both had that passion for sailing. It never left him. But he continued it his whole life, any time he could. But Hal taught me a lot of things over the years in this contracting business. He taught me how to paint. He was a really good painter. I think in college he did a lot of painting. And he taught me how to paint, and we did quite a few painting jobs over the years. He came to Virginia and helped us work on our house that we were building there, and he bought an airplane, as was mentioned. I think we were about the only three people that flew in that after he had bought the plane. And it was Bonnie, and did you fly with him, Pam? Oh, Speedy flew. Oh, okay. So there's some real brave folks here. And did you fly with him too? Okay. Peggy.
9 months pregnant.
9 months. She was 9 months pregnant. Bonnie was 6 months pregnant. We like, yes.
I wouldn't fly with him because he bought a Pinto carburetor on a Ford Pinto. You know, that old Stetson? I said, how? I was just late. You're going to put a Ford carburetor on a Stetson, don't ask me, you go to the airport level up to you. He always laughed about it. I never did go flying with him.
Oh, well, it was an adventure. He was used to only flying with two people, himself and a passenger. So when 3 people flew with him, which was Bonnie and myself, he wasn't used to that kind of weight. So, you know, he had his routine where he would start down the runway at a certain point in the runway, and he knew he could build up his speed and could clear the mountain. I don't know if any of you have ever flown out a Slate Run. It's a runway here with a big gully, and the mountain comes up, and the trees are up here. So you got to be able to go over those trees. He wasn't used to the weight, so we're in the back, and Bonnie's in the back of the plane, so she couldn't see anything that was going on. So when the plane took off, she's back here, and I literally lifted my butt up off the seat to get over the tree line. Literally. I mean, I could count the leaves on the trees. So we flew around, and the object of that day was we were going to go up to lunch in Summersville. A lot of the pilots at the time would go there on Sunday. I believe it was a Sunday. I'm not quite sure of the day, but a lot of the pilots at the time would go up there for lunch, and so that's what we were going to do. We get up to Summersville, we run around the lake. I'm looking here, I'm looking there. The sky is just full of airplanes, and we had to take our turn. And I said, you know, Hal, why don't we just land once today? Just once. Don't want to do twice. So, well, we flew around for a while. We went, and Aunt Minnie's farm was going on at the same time, and we buzzed Aunt Minnie's farm. Go down and buzz the hippies at Aunt Minnie's farm. And so we came back to land the airplane, and in his training, Hal was always taught to bank before he came into the landing. And so he banked, and again, we had extra weight, so he did this bank, and there was all these power lines that goes right in front of this runway. I don't know how far out it was, a mile maybe, but you had to go over these power lines and drop down to the runway. And so he was doing his banking thing, he came down, he was going too fast. So that plane, the Stinsons, was, I think they took off at 55 miles an hour. So you had to get that land speed down, you had to get the speed down below that, or the plane wouldn't touch the ground. And so he made one attempt, too fast.